Hi everybody. Okay, on to bold. Um, okay, so Katie is going to take the fashion house, which I mean, I was never in doubt. It's about time Heather Tom and Katie Logan got some respect around that soap opera. So yeah, I'm excited. But then there's always a fallout. Somebody has to be the last to know, that kind of thing. So Brooke and Katie are hugging each other. And then in walks Jennifer Garris playing Donna, and she's like, group hug. And then she's like, why are we hugging? And then Brooke fills her in about how, well, Katie is leaving us, but she's gonna get her own line, and so whatever. I'm sure she can do it. Yay, rah rah. Okay, now I counted because I'm one of those people. Okay, she leaves the scene with her sisters, goes back to Bill, and says, you know, I got to say goodbye to everybody, and they were really surprisingly supportive. And I'm like, uh huh. And then the next scene, right after that, was Brooke apparently separated from Donna and went back to Ridge. And she says, well, I don't think that, I'm not sure she's going to do well because she's got no experience and she has never had her own fashion house and yada yada. And I'm like, whoa, I literally said, whoa. Weren't you supportive 2 seconds ago? Oh my god. Wow. Okay. Note. I've been trying to figure out like why I don't like the character of Brooke. Okay, there are two reasons. Two reasons that stand out. Number one, she's tapped at the hip to Rich. I don't get that, and I don't get that kind of marriage. I don't like the man, whatever. Okay, secondly, how can you be supportive of your own sister for 2 seconds and then the second your husband gets involved? And like the second he's in the room, you're like, well, I'm not sure she can do it. Really? That's what you call being supportive. Ugh. Okay, on to another front. Okay, so little spoiler, I guess. If you missed Friday's episode entirely, they kicked Deke out the door. Why? Because they said because Thomas and Zende are going to work together on the line again. They don't need Deke, and they have no money for him. And basically, Steffi said on Friday, well, I don't want to let him go, but we have no money to pay him. And if we don't need him, then we have to cut him. And then she left Hope to let down her own brother. Classy. Okay. So then the fallout today is um, Deke just happens to go to Giardino's. El Giardino, sorry, um, Deacon's restaurant, and he's talking to him like you know how okay sometimes when you're relatives and the other person is starting to have a conversation with you, and they're in mid conversation and you're not totally there, so then it's kind of weird because you're not answering the questions or whatever. Like it was one of those because he was saying, well, the new chef is working on a new recipe for the pasta, whatever, and I'm sure you'll like it. And poor Deke, the actor who plays Deke, is like in his own world and not paying attention to anything because he's just been fired from his job or let go because it was a trial position. Uh-huh. So then um he says, oh yeah, good. And then finally Deacon picks up on the and says, what's up? Is something wrong? And he says, yeah, because they let me go from my trial position. And they said, and then he said, why would they do that? And then Deke says, well, because Thomas is back and they said they don't need me anymore. And then Deacon says, oh, Tommy boy. Mm-hmm. And then the shocker of shockers. no, no. I'm not giving myself credit on this one, but somebody must have been reading my mind because I said, where is Remy? We haven't seen Remy in like forever. Because, okay, now follow the trajectory here. Deke comes on the scene, back on the scene. And then Remy pops out of nowhere. We have not seen Remy since he did whatever with Elektra. Remember that was the last time. And everybody wanted him out of town because of what he did, right? Okay. So then Deke comes and everybody's excited. Everybody wants to know who his boyfriend is. And then Shocker shocks is Remy, right? Okay. So we have not seen this boy since then. So I said, where is he? What happened to him? Did he fall in a hole? Okay, well, no. He's back and he says, well, I'm sorry I didn't tell you about my past. Totally. But I was confused and what was it? I was ashamed and confused. And I'm thinking, ashamed and confused about what? I mean, I guess ashamed for doing what you did to Elektra, but you didn't really do anything to Elektra, so what are you talking about? And confused about what? So it just didn't land with me. It didn't land at all. Okay, so the coolest part, which I'm sorry, I didn't mean to leave it for the last. I really didn't. Um, but Liam was there, so woohoo! Scott Clifton, aces. Okay, so Liam says to his dad, oh wow, so Katie is gonna have her own fashion house, and wow, you really do it. And he's like, all in, or go big or go home. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's cool. I wish we saw Scott Clifton more. I don't know, but I always say that. Okay, I think I covered everything. Oh, the one thing we're waiting on, which I don't know when it's gonna happen. Katie is gonna release the name of her new fashion house. Okay, now I have no idea. I got no ideas for names and stuff. So it's gonna be a surprise for everybody because I got no clue. Okay, but that's what we're waiting on here. All right, bye everybody.